I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll.
Trustee Sperling.
Here.
Trustee Lee.
Here.
Trustee Heitz. Trustee Youngerman.
Here.
And Trustee Marisak.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum this evening. First item on the agenda is our public comment, 2-minute opportunity. Any member of the public to address the board. That's not on the agenda. Anybody? Well, you can just go ahead and go right into yours. So next up on the agenda, we have Lori Frieders, which with the presentation. So.
On behalf of the Illinois Water Environment Association, I am presenting Village President Matt Broley this Public Officials Award. IWA's 2019 Public Officials Award is given to an official that has a documented significant contribution in the area of clean water legislation, public policy, government service, or another area of public prominence that results in improvements to the water environment. President Broley was nominated not only because the Village of Montgomery has several environmentally friendly policies in the village, but because of its 2035 comprehensive plan that was passed in 2014 under his leadership. This plan emphasizes sustainability and the natural environment. It includes turning back areas of floodplain back into natural wetlands. These areas that were once seen as an impediment to growth and development will now aid the village in its stormwater management and also give an opportunity for the community to experience the Illinois wetlands. Congratulations, President Broley.
Awesome, thank you. So I should mention, I think I mentioned to most of the board, I was set to go down to Springfield to your guys' conference, and I sincerely apologize for not being able to make that. We had we had a board meeting that night, and I needed to be here, so I do apologize. Please send that to the folks. But yeah, I want to take a picture. Yeah, no, that's fine. Let's actually.
We have a home here.
Thank you.
Get in there.
Oh, thank you.
One more.
It's just bad trying to get a space.
Can we all look at that? Wow. That's cool. Beautiful. Wow.
That's really all of the work that we all.
Don't drop it.
It's really heavy.
It is. If you're going to drop it, just wait until Lori leaves.
No, here, don't drop it. That's a really cool looking award. Very cool.
All right, and you certainly don't have to stay for the whole meeting, but you can, but you don't have to.
Welcome to. Dan, you do.
Oh, we were supposed to use gloves when we touched it.
I know, right? Now it has all your fingerprints on it. Good job.
He has all our fingerprints now. Yes.
Just what I wanted. All right. So with that, we'll move on to the consent. I'll read the items and entertain a motion for approval. Minutes of the special village board meeting of March 25th, executive session minutes of March 25th, the building report from March of 2019, water production report from March of 2019, accounts payable through April 4th, cancellation of the committee of the whole meeting on April 16th, ordinance 1851, granting a special use for Wiforia, and ordinance 1852, granting an amendment to the special use for plan unit development of Blackberry Creek. Again, for Wiforia, those are both second reading. We talked about those previously.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Sperling.
Yes.
And Trustee Lee.
Yes.
All right. It carries 4-0. Thank you. Under items for separate action this evening, we have ordinance 1853, adopting the operating and capital improvement budgets for fiscal year 2020, kind of a big one. This is second reading. We've talked about this several times over the last few months. And I don't know if Justin or Jeff had anything to add. Go ahead, Justin.
I'm going to go through some of the items, kind of a review of the overall budget. So thank you, President Brawley. Before I get started on the details, I would like to thank each department and their staff for their work on this year's budget, as well as the board for their continued leadership and support of staff. Since the last presentation of the general fund, we have had several changes that we made to the budget, although the surplus is roughly the same as it was, slightly higher, but I'd like to highlight a few of those. The first two help the village to accomplish Greenest Region Compact 2 goals. We'll perform a tree survey during fiscal year 20 that will help us to sustain a robust forest canopy. The survey will be partially paid for by a grant from the Morton Arboretum. And then secondly, the streetlight program will replace existing bulbs with LED lights. By doing so, we will be able to reduce our energy consumption, and the lights will be partially funded by an incentive from Commonwealth Edison. Two other items. Our liability insurance premium was finalized since the general fund was budgeted last discussed, saving us over $70,000 from last year. Last but certainly not least, staff was able to move several items to fiscal year 19 to take advantage of the expected surplus. One that I'd specifically mention is the purchase of 2 Kubota mowers, which allows us to use those for the entire season rather than waiting until getting them in mid-May or even into June.
Justin, quick question. The change in funding source for the high-definition camera upgrade, is that an outside source, or was that for moving things around?
That was moving things around. It was previously included in the capital projects fund. And with the surplus that we had, we felt we could move it into the general fund.
Thank you.
So there's some colored graphs and certain items in here. I actually put these into a budget document that's submitted every year for an award, and I decided to include those in here. I'm not going to talk about every single one of them, but I would like to highlight a few items. On page 4, it starts out with major revenues. State and local sales tax continues to meet or exceed our expectations. We conservatively budget a 5% increase each year for both, and like I said, it consistently meets or exceeds that. The next item I will talk about is utility taxes. It's on page 6 of this report. Although there has been a change between types, the percentage of each type, overall utility taxes are a fairly consistent source of revenue to pay our bonds down, which they continue to do so. Last, we look at major expenditures. The largest expenditure, of course, in any government is typically personal services, the staff, the investment that the village makes in its staff. We are looking to add several new staff during fiscal year 2020, including a community relations manager, an additional sworn officer, and 2 maintenance workers in public works. Last and certainly not least would be the community investment expenditures. They're budgeted at nearly $8 million for fiscal year 2020. Some of the largest items are included in the packet, but I just like to take a brief moment to highlight our road program and what we've been able to do there. I know we've talked about it recently. So in fiscal year 2020, we are looking to work on over 10 miles of roads just in fiscal year 20. And then over the last 5 years, since we've implemented the non-home rule sales tax, we have been able to work on over 30 miles of roads, actually over 33 miles of roads in those 5 years. So with that, if there are any questions, I will certainly answer those, but.
I have a couple questions, if I may.
Sure.
If you go to page 6, on state income tax from calendar year 2017 to calendar year 2018, there was a pretty drastic drop. Why is that?
The drop there, that is shared revenue with the state. The state.
The state's keeping more of our money?
Yes.
Is the nice way to put it?
Yes.
Okay.
The nice one.
Investment income, same page. 2015 to 2016, it went from 500,000 to 0. What was that?
So the yellow line is the police pension fund. And then the green line is the village. Some of the investments during fiscal year 16 underperformed where we would have liked them to. So that's where that came in fiscal year 16.
Thank you. Those were my questions.
Is that it? You good?
That's it.
Any questions, comments? It's the general fund, so if you want to make any comments about the general fund, you certainly could. But you don't have to.
No, thank you to staff, and Justin, I know this is a lot of work, and I appreciate the fact that you dumb it down and put it in people terms for us, as opposed to the accounting terms sometimes that people get bogged down with, so I appreciate that, and again, all the department heads for all the hard work. I know there's a lot of hours behind the scenes. We get to come to a couple of meetings and talk about it, but you guys put months and weeks of hard work into it, so thank you.
And for the record, I would still like to increase the rebate checks from $45 to $60. I would like to figure that out prior to the next pay, if we're going to increase it to the existing people, or if we're going to somehow increase the number of people that are able to get it. As long as we're able to do it within the next year. So on the not this check that comes out in March, but the next check that comes out in March of 2020, we're able to figure that out. I would appreciate that. I think the residents would as well.
And hopefully we'll touch on that with the, with item D, which is the PSA, to kind of look at the timeline on the road analysis, so.
And then our timeframe on the original ordinance would be, I'm looking at Laura, yes? Because it said 5 years.
Correct.
It was staying the
The
same for
original is
5 years. Okay.
And I think that, doesn't that just auto-renew and continue unless action is taken? We have to pull it, but I thought it said.
I don't think
No,
so.
it was you have to pass the new.
Oh, really? Zero's out.
But that's when we
So we'll be
could
doing that anyway.
talk about raising it, is when we go to renew it.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Justin, I appreciate your help and your work on this.
Thank you.
Take a motion to accept the budget?
Sure.
Second.
Item A. Any discussion? Roll.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yep.
And Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
That carries 4-0. Thank you. Item B is ordinance 1854, approving a salary schedule. This is second reading.
We don't have anything
Okay.
new to add to it.
Nothing else from
unless
staff?
there are
Did anybody
questions.
have any questions specifically
Yes.
from staff? Go ahead.
This is second reading? This wasn't here before.
Yeah, we had
First
first
time
reading.
we've
last-
seen it?
The last meeting, it was at the last meeting. I wasn't here, but. it
You were
was
here,
discussed at
Denny.
the last meeting, my understanding.
Okay. Anyway, what is a chief building official?
That's-
Who is the chief building official?
That's Mike Lupar.
Mike Kuplar is the chief building official. The title was
adjusted in last year's budget. Previously, it had been
Oh, that's right. I
entitled
remember now. And Matt went to building inspector.
Matt went to building inspector from code enforcement officer because he passed his certifications. And Mike went from supervisor of building inspections and permits to chief building official.
All right. Second question. Community Relations Manager. In all my meetings, I was told there's going to be, it could be $40,000 like everybody else pays. And I said, well, it sure shouldn't be 65. So here we're sitting with 58 to 82. This is the first time I've seen this, or the first time I get to vote on it. Let's put it that way. But in my meetings, none of it was, these figures were not there. They were not there.
Well, we had 60 during our meeting. 65 is what we had budgeted.
Right, and what did I ask you? I said, are we sure aren't going to pay that? And you said, well, it's up
Well,
to the...
depend. I mean, we look, but I went to Fox Valley Park District,
Yeah.
and I went to Oswego Park District, and the Village of Oswego, and this is all commensurate with what they're paying. They're actually paying more than what this range is.
But it's a range and it's an employee that we currently don't have. But obviously, we're,
Obviously,
Yeah.
but obviously, I can't believe that those people are making that. In fact, there was a girl on the front page of the paper, what the heck was her name? Melissa Amani from Aurora. And I never knew they even had anybody but Gina Moga, but she was there. I can't believe she's making 65. I just can't believe that all these people are making 65,000. It's just that, and I've talked to Jim Pilmer, and those guys, he's got 10 people making 40,000.
But he's
He
got-
may have, I don't know who, Debbie, I don't think is, Debbie Smith, their top one, is not making 65.
No, I got their actual numbers. I went and got their numbers from them so I could see and compare, and they're paying more than, they got people making quite a bit more than this
Well, I don't know what
in
their,
this role.
let's put it this way, I don't know what their role is.
Well, that's just it. I'm guessing some of those have a lesser role than what we're asking this person to do. But if you're looking at the people that are running their marketing or their events, this is what they're making.
Running their events.
Yeah, people that are the head of.
so this is, and rather than tie this to individuals that we might know, this is a position that we currently do not have, that we're filling. That is an investment in everything that we currently do, and marketing, promoting, and building that sense of community that we always talk about. And so this position, while not hired, is in the budget for 65,000. I think that would be the hope from staff, is to get somebody around that. But this is the range that is appropriate for that job description.
I was under the understanding at that meeting, I think Steve was in there too, that the range was gonna be in that 40 to 70 range, not up to 82.
I remember it being a little lower. My only question there on this position, is there any particular reason that this position requires a manager designation?
Thank you. That was my question.
Is it a overtime thing, or is it a benefits thing? If it's a community relations person or a community relations manager or whatever it is.
Liaison? Could be a
Whatever the name
liaison,
is, why is it a manager? And is there anything?
We looked at other communities to see what they were calling the position.
Okay.
Something similar.
And if it's
It
just
doesn't-
verbiage, I mean,
Yeah,
that's.
it doesn't
okay.
have to be, it doesn't, manager, putting that on doesn't affect the range.
Okay.
Because we looked at comparable positions, it's comparable skills that we were looking for when we set the range.
I
And then again,
remember Denny talking about this in our 2-on-2s, and I think you're right. I remember at least the comments were that it was going to be less. It may have been what it is on paper.
I think we had 65 budgeted, and we knew the range would start less than that. I don't think we knew exactly where at that point.
Maybe Denny and I were thinking 65 was like the middle of the road type of
That's what
thing,
I was
so.
saying, more 40 to 70,
Yeah.
not, and she's, whoever's gonna be, is gonna be as high as our county manager. In fact, who is she gonna answer to? She can't be going to the accounting manager, she's gonna make more than a county manager.
The position was going to report to me.
This is not an entry-level position. I think it says 3 to 5 years' experience for the job description. How does staff feel about potentially making an edit to this, the minimum. I certainly don't want to lower the top to, so we exclude qualified folks for this position. But if we wanted to broaden the salary range a little bit, would that be acceptable? Would that be something that you would support?
Yeah, and I'd like to see, you might have 10 people, and they may all come from the Park District, and they may all be only making 35 there. In that case, they may look at this job at 60. This would be a great job, and you have 10 different people to pick from. But in this case, you're making it so high now that they're thinking this is a gravy job. I mean, it's to me, it's awful high, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
I don't know who handles it for Oswego, but most of it would be Oswego and Park District, who they make the whole Prairie Fest. I can see somebody getting more money to do that, because that's a 5-day.
Sure. And this is not only to run events, it's promote the village. So one thing that we've all talked about over the years is that we do a really great job at running a village and watching our costs and investing in our basins and our roads and everything that nobody knows about, because we are light years behind our peers, other municipalities and even park districts, in communicating the good that we're providing to this community out to our residents to encourage them to come to Sunday in the Park, to come to Montgomery Fest, to come to the PD events. And so, and also fundraising for those events. So I see tremendous value in us promoting the good that we're doing in this village and encouraging more participation to build that sense of place that we talk about so much. And that's what this non-entry level position would do for us. And that's the plan.
This helps create a sense of identity for Montgomery. This is, and I agree with Matt, this is a position that we need. You know, we can talk about the salary range, that's fine. We can talk about the title. But this is a position that we need in order to keep up with surrounding communities. And I don't want to call this person a cheerleader, but that's I think the wrong word. But, you know, they've got to go out and they're screaming about the good things in Montgomery and the good things that we're doing here. And they're really helping in ways that I think that we don't even know they can help yet. So that's how I kind of see this person.
Yeah, and also in the job description does include, what was it, like strategic fundraising for all of our events. So I think potentially you could put a dollar figure to that at the end of a year or two to see how much we've increased our donations to our events.
Well, our problem with our donations to the events, and I've said it before, is everybody's after the same dollar.
Sure.
And she may get better.
She or he.
But the other ones, or he, but only the other ones are all going to suffer then. And
potentially,
I
and
guess
it's
we
not,
don't
and
care.
it's not unique. This
I
is
know, it's not you, but you got to remember, you're adding on $27,000 to in benefits. So you're looking at a $92,000 person, and you're going, you better do the job.
And I think that's the issue. I think the term you're looking for is we need an advocate for the village.
Thank you.
We've
Better.
struggled with identity. We've talked about it in strategic plans, putting the comprehensive plan together. We have an identity crisis. We don't have an identity. Aurora's the city of lights. We need somebody a professional, not an entry-level person, somebody that knows and is tried and true and understands and has been around the block how to best advocate for us. Fundraising is a small portion of this, but just giving us a professional image that we sometimes lack. So I'm in complete support of the position. Again, what the title is, the pay range is a little higher. I thought we were going 45 to 65, and now
Yeah.
60 is the low end of the range. You
That
know,
was my
59 is.
understanding as well, so I want to echo that as well in my budget meeting as well. I thought 65 was like the absolute top. So I think that there was perhaps some misunderstanding of how that was presented, the salary part of it. I have 2 follow-up questions, if you're done.
Good, thank you.
In terms of the job description, was that just a combination of the different ones that you researched, or was that based on, this is what I think we need?
It was both. I mean, we, rather than recreate the wheel, we went and looked at some other ones and took out what we thought we needed. So what would be
Okay.
appropriate here?
My other question, and I had expressed this to Mayor Brawley as well, with Rotary, we have several things in the works in terms of events coming up and some existing partnerships. So is this person going to be able to help Rotary as long as they're village? I mean, they're pretty much always going to be village events that Rotary is doing. And I can tell you there's 2 coming up, and then I've talked to somebody else about an expansion of one that was more of a neighborhood thing as we're looking to expand that. Is that something that we foresee this person having a hand in and helping?
Well, I think we're certainly going to want them to promote events that are happening within the village, whether they're village events or not. You know, if there are park district things that are going on in the village, or Rotary or other, you know, VFW, to promote things that are going on in the village, because our goal is to bring people to the village, not just
Right.
village events. So I would certainly think they would help in promoting those,
Absolutely.
so.
I don't want to hear, I certainly would think, you're going to be their boss, so I want to hear, yes, that's going to be the expectation.
You guys sort of set policy, so.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's the expectation
the-
I would like to see, is that, yes,
I mean,
they.
that's what we've envisioned in our discussions.
So, yeah, and I'm totally with you there. Sorry, I was doing some work on my calculator.
And I think it also solidifies, it solidifies that sense of community that we're lacking, because we are a little fragmented, because we have the Rotary doing things, we have the Chamber doing things, we have MEDC doing things. If we can have somebody that can kind of wrap their hands around it a little bit. I did this, I told Matt this when we were talking. When I ran the thing at the school, we had 6 different committees that were all asking Rosati's, for an instance, for a donation. They were all calling Taco Madre looking for a donation. Well, we put one person in charge of that for the entire organization, and then they brought it in and said, okay, you get this, you get this, you get this, because it stopped the hammering of every business constantly. So, and it'll help leverage some of those relationships, I think. So, again, the salary range thing and the title, I question, because it seems like everybody's a manager these days. And what are you managing?
Right.
Yourself?
Right.
So the, currently as shown, the average of this range is 70,388. To get that to an average of 65,000, I really don't want to arbitrarily lower the range, because that would maybe eliminate some folks from potentially being considered or even applying. You could lower the minimum to 47,923 and approve it. That way the average of the range would be 65, which is kind of what you guys were thinking. What do you feel about that?
And
I
you're
mean, we
saying
can
keep
make the minimum whatever you want. It's just if you, it depends on the quality of person you want.
Yeah.
If you want somebody with experience that's going to do the things that I've heard you discuss, and I've heard the board discuss they want, we're probably not bringing somebody in at 47.
Right.
I mean,
But does
but we
lowering
can
that-
have it.
Does lowering that hurt our chances of getting that quality
I
person?
think so. I mean, they're going to see the
They're gonna
entire
look-
range.
Yeah.
They're going to see where they could fit into it.
And also they're going to see our discussion here tonight, so.
So and
Potentially.
you're saying, so lower the minimum, but keep the maximum where it's at, and then it averages out.
That's fine. But as long as this person, as you say, you're not gonna start at 47, so you might as well just leave it like it is. If you're saying you can't find anybody at 47 now, that's what you're saying.
We
Well,
can, it just depends on the experience you want, what you're asking this person
I
to do.
know, but you're saying we want the better experience, so it'll probably be 65, which is fine. But like I said, on this whole salary schedule, in a couple of years, I don't want to see the guy making 82 and find out that nobody around here makes 82. And that goes for any of these, then I'm going to be ticked. Because I said the salary schedule, I haven't seen yet what everybody's going to make after the schedules, after bonuses and all that, and it should be readily available to anybody. And I want to just see where we end up on some of this stuff. That's all.
We can do that. There aren't any bonuses for staff, just, I want to.
So I'd like to ask the question again to Justin. I asked this at the last board meeting. I don't know if you remember me asking this, but I just want to hear, once again, publicly, will anyone be getting a bump up when we pass this, the range of the salaries, the schedule? Will anyone get an immediate bump up or an automatic bump up in November?
You did ask it, and my answer was no. And it will
Yes.
still be no, and
Thank you.
continue to be no.
Perfect. That's what I want to hear.
We give raises based on merit around here.
Well, and I'm going to question that, because don't we have some executive assistants that are at the top of the range now? So would they not be getting?
No, they will have, in November, if they get a good evaluation, they'll be able to get a merit
Right.
raise. Nobody's getting an automatic bump because of you adopting this.
Okay.
They will just have the opportunity to
Right, they can earn a raise.
earn a raise later
Yeah.
on.
But the concern has been in the past that if we bump up the raise and somebody is now earning below the minimum,
Right.
that they
Right.
should not automatically get bumped.
Right. And that's
And
what I
non-merit,
wanted
yeah.
confirmation of again, so thank you, I appreciate it.
So, just to highlight and summarize this, I know we've talked about the salary ranges for a very long time. I think this sends an incredible message to our staff, our non-union staff, that we are investing in them. There's been several years now where we have not done anything with this. We've held the line on a lot of things. But this, I think, ensures that they're being paid comparably, because I think everybody up here would agree that we don't want to be losing staff, because especially our staff that have been here with us. They certainly know a lot about this village, and they do a lot of hard work for us, so. If there are any other comments on this, now would be the time. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Can I just clarify, are we adjusting the minimum of the one range?
I'm saying yes.
Okay, and what
So
was
the
that-
minimum
what was
will
that
be
number?
47,923.
47.
And I'll make the
Thank you.
motion if no one else
Second.
has.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
And Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Awesome, that carries, thank you. All right, moving on, item C, we have award of a contract to Copenhagen Construction for the 2019 Shared Use Path Project in the amount of $288,803.50. And who wants this? Mark?
You can handle it.
So recall that this is the project that we rebid last year, and I put a note in the packet just to summarize that we did reduce our cost by $12,380 by rebidding, so it was definitely worth the rebid process. And then we did identify some other items where we can see some savings as we go forward. If we award it. So we did get two bidders. One was Copenhagen, who was the low bidder. The other was Geneva Construction, and that was also part of our strategy, was to attract the person that got the road contract to bid as well, which they did. However, their price was substantially higher. So slightly above estimate, about 6% above estimate, but we think it's a good bid. We are reducing our cost from last year, so we recommend award of the contract.
This, just to refresh my memory, this shared path, this is not the ComEd,
Correct.
this is the
This is yours.
additional 2 years?
Yes, this
Okay.
is 2 years, 2 and 3.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
No. Motion to approve?
Second.
Go ahead.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
And Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
That carries 4-0. Thank you. Item D is a PSA with the EEI for pavement management study update in the estimated amount of $78,468. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. President. Before you tonight is the PSA agreement with Engineering Enterprises, as you mentioned, for $78,468. This would be for the 5-year roadway maintenance plan developed to implement the assessment of roads for the village of Montgomery. We are currently have 1 year left on the existing 5-year plan, so this would be to map out the additional 5 years beyond that point, at which point we would act upon those at that time. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to entertain those at this time, but otherwise,
I have a kind of related question. This is for Engineer Wallers. In our previous, I guess, we've done this for 4 years now. We're going into our 5th year. And I remember, because I actually pay attention to what you tell us, the pavement condition index, it was we were on a 72-year cycle, I believe, when we started this. Where are we now?
So we are probably on about a 16-year cycle, I think, something like that. The number varies a bit. So we had, when we started out, we were shooting for a 20 to 25-year cycle, but we've been able to do better than we expected. So as the finance director mentioned, we're through 2020, we'll have done about 33 miles, and we were originally programmed to do about 20 miles. So we're doing more streets than we had anticipated being able to do. Now, it'll be interesting to see where we're at with the next 5-year plan and to see if we'll be able to maintain that pace. But I think our early bidding strategy has worked really well, and hopefully we'll continue to see that, move forward.
And I opened up to the project schedule that you guys have in attachment C, and it shows, and it looks like the final report and exhibits will be before this board at some point in November, end of the year kind of thing.
That's what we're targeting. One of the reasons we want to do it this year is that we're using a subcontractor, IMS, to do the actual pavement mapping. They do the deflectometer work and the laser analysis of the pavement condition, and then we use that and put it into the report. And they've been busy, and so we try to get them scheduled as early as we can and then leave enough time for discussion with the board.
So, okay, and in November, December, would that be an appropriate time, once we have this report, then to talk about the funding source and the rebates and that?
We can present options that provide, whatever rebate you want to offer. So let's say it's 60, we can then deduct that from the, the revenue and project out an alternative, with that, and maybe an alternative with the current, program. So to see the impact.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Go ahead.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yeah.
And Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
That carries 4-0. Thank you. Item E is a request for additional funding for police range equipment and software update. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. Before you have a document that outlines our request. Everybody should be aware that in 2006, the police department was built, the range was equipped, software was installed. That worked up to about 2013. It started to fail back in 2013. They had budgeted about $25,000 to fix that equipment. The company named Mancon came out, gave us that quote, but they folded before they can actually do the work. So last year I promised our village administrator that we'd find a solution, and we did some diligent research, found a company that actually installed North Aurora's and Oswego Police Department, called Paragon. That's the quote you have in front of you for $56,000. Just looking for approval to get that extra $31,000 over the $25,000 that we had budgeted for last year. I'll entertain any questions.
We don't have any money budgeted this year, correct? That was,
We actually have $25,000 in the fiscal year 2019 budget.
But not the one you just approved.
Not, right.
okay. But was this, okay, so that was, that's all we have in the hopper is 25,000.
Yes. The
Okay.
intent would be, unless I'm mistaken, is that they would be working on it very soon and try to get it done by April 30th, so.
So we would be utilizing 2019, or dollars from the 2019 budget.
Correct.
Where, I guess, where are those
Well, I
dollars?
mean, we were anticipating a sizable surplus, so
Okay.
we would just take it from the surplus.
That's where the extra dollars are coming from?
Okay.
So it has no effect on the budget we just passed?
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Chief, how often do our officers use this range right now?
Well, we're required by law to at least qualify once a year, but we're in there probably sometimes as much as once a week, sometimes twice a week. But the rotation, what we do with the 32 officers we have on staff, it takes us a few weeks to get everybody through the process, and then we do that at least once a quarter. So you're looking at once or twice a week most of the time.
Will the upgrades that we're doing, will it be a more efficient process? Will the gun range be safer? And will it be more usable for our officers?
Yes, yes, and yes. Number one, it does become more effective and efficient. It cuts down on the time used on a range, and safety, because the range officer will be able to communicate directly while he's on the range. It does make it a little bit safer, yes.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like you were able to get some kind of a discount here as well, that the whole system should have been 72,000.
Yeah, because we explained our predicament to Paragon, and that we're close to the two other agencies that they serviced and installed. They said, well, we'll try to give you as many discounts as possible. So we did explain we had $25,000 budgeted for it. What could they work with us? And that's the number they came up with. So they were a little flexible for us.
That's great, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
You still only have one range master, and who is it?
No, we actually have two. We have Jason Transky and Tony Bertolotti.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
And Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Thank you. Item F, back to the chief, I suppose. Police Department flooring. Oh, sorry.
Handle it.
Throw it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before you tonight is approval to move forward with Douglas Floor Company, approving a contract with them for replacement of flooring at the village's police department. Please keep in mind that roughly $15,000 of the estimate is due to going towards the damages that were caused by a flooding that we had over the winter. There was a burst pipe in a wall in the chief's office that caused flooding in the floor. So some of the cost that's implemented here is to cover that as well, which is being covered by the insurance company as part of that claim. This proposal is for several areas of the police department that are being lumped together. As part of doing this process for the village, we were able to save roughly 4% from the original quotes that we were given by Douglas, piecing each of these separately. We were able to combine them together as part of the insurance claim and the other items that we had budgeted for next year. Because of the surplus as well, we're going to try and capitalize on some of these to take place before April 30th. That part of that would be the work taking place to replace the flooring in the area that was damaged. The police roll call room would be the other area that we're going to try to utilize before April 30th. The other items would take place afterwards, which are in the fiscal year 20 budget. So at this time, we're requesting approval for Douglas Floor Covering to proceed with work at the Village Police Department for flooring. If there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain those at this time.
Question real quick on Douglas to work night and weekends.
That's correct.
Isn't there somebody always at the police station?
That's correct.
Okay.
So the idea behind the nights and weekends is primarily focused on the administration area, which is where the damage occurred during the flooding. So in order to minimize the time that administration's out of work, because of the computers have to be taken down, desks are going to have to be moved, all the equipment, we are utilizing them to come in after hours so they can get the bulk of that work done to inconvenience our staff at the least amount, so.
All right.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yep.
And Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
And that carries 4-0. Thank you. We don't have any items for discussion this evening. Any new or unfinished?
I have a couple of items.
I'll start there and work our way around.
My first question is for Chief. So unfortunately, we've had several law enforcement officers that have been killed within the state. I just want to know if we've had representation attend the services.
Yes, ma'am, we have. The only we didn't do was go all the way up to Freeport. That's the only we didn't go to.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I have two announcements. Waubonsee Community College is having their spring career fair this Thursday, April 11th, from 10:30 until 1 p.m. And I also see on here they are doing free headshots for LinkedIn. And then I have a Rotary announcement, so mark your calendars. On Thursday, April 25th, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., we are sponsoring a cyberbullying and internet safety talk. It is retired Detective Richard Wistocki from Naperville, and he does these national talks to promote safety and obviously discourage cyberbullying. The talk is geared toward 3rd to 6th graders and their parents, and they're encouraged to bring their devices. So that, again, is on Thursday, April 25th from 6:30 to 8:30. It is free, but we do need people to sign up. Oh.
Where's it at?
Where? It is at Waubonsee Community College in the auditorium in Sugar Grove. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
That's it.
Denny, anything? Steve?
Mayfield Drive as you turn off of Orchard Road onto Mayfield Drive, it is destroyed, absolutely destroyed. Can we fill some holes at some point?
So we're going to take it a little step better. We've actually laid out some of that as part of our patching, village-wide patching that we're doing through the IRP MFT program. We've already identified that area. There's several spots along the area you're referring to, as well as some others along Mayfield. There's several areas throughout the village that we've identified.
Okay.
Engineering Enterprises has been working on laying out those areas. I did a ride-along with Chris Ott from Engineering Enterprises about 2 weeks ago, and he and I laid out those areas for
Okay.
I
replacement.
noticed they're marked. I noticed there's a lot of spraying over there.
All right,
So-
I hadn't. but
I'd like to
okay,
take
great.
advantage of that opportunity, too, to mention that tomorrow night, we're having an open house for the IRP MFT program at the police department. So we welcome people to come out and ask questions about the program. It's going to be highlighting the majority of the area out west, so keep that in mind.
Tomorrow night or next week?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, 6 p.m.
Tomorrow night at 6.
at the police department.
Tomorrow.
There's big signs at the entrance to our subdivision because it's in the program. That's how.
I saw a pothole in a neighboring town this morning that was so big that somebody put a campaign sign in it. I was like, they got to fill that guy up. Thank you. Steve, anything else?
Yeah, that's it.
Anything?
No.
I don't know, I'm going around. Go ahead.
Just last thing, you should see messaging boards on Orchard Road probably later this week, because we will start resurfacing, probably some prep work this week, and active resurfacing next week or the following week.
Awesome.
I'd also like to note that today, Chris Ott and myself went out. We met with all the business owners of all the properties that are adjacent to or will be affected by the Orchard Road program. Talked to them, explained to them the process. We were also able to get some of their contact information, so we're able to give them more of a steady timeline on the construction and when that's going to take place to try and inconvenience those businesses as least as possible. So we were effective today doing that.
Awesome. Chief, you got something?
Yes, especially for Trustee Sperling. This Friday at 1 o'clock, 2 of our new hires will graduate from the Police Academy.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't want to leave Rich and Justin out. You guys have anything else?
I'm good.
All right.
John?
Awesome. Justin's done presenting. All right. Would like to congratulate Doug and Stan and Dan Geyer for being elected the other day. So for the first time, Dan Geyer now is trustee-elect. So we'll welcome you to the board in May, and Doug as well. I think it's a testament to the service that Stan and Doug have put into this community over the years, and I really did appreciate working with you, and obviously always appreciated working with Stan. So with that, nothing else. Our committee of the whole meeting on the 16th has been canceled. We have intergovernmental and village board on April 22nd in this building. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
And Trustee Lee.
Yes.
And we're adjourned. Thank you.